Having a great transformation strategy is really the key to any type of implementation success, whether it's large, medium, or small. My name is Adam Cheatham. I'm the Director of Strategy and Transformation at Third Stage Consulting Group, and today we're going to talk about the 5 steps towards a great transformation strategy. So step 1 is really to make sure that you have executive alignment on what your strategy is. So executive and strategic alignment is critical to your strategy and your transformation overall, because without it, you really fail at the beginning. You start off with everybody marching to the same beat, singing to the same sheet of music, and you can really achieve quite a lot more than you can if, say, for example, your CFO is focused on something different than your COO, and your CEO just wants sales to go up. Those 3 different strategies may sound like they're all well aligned towards increasing revenue at a great profit margin, for example, but digging a layer deeper can really start to pull apart where those goals and objectives between those executives can be differentiated. For example, the increasing profitability as a company, sales going up, that could just be revenue based. Costs, from a cost perspective, COO is going to be more focused on making sure that everything comes in as materials or at great prices and that his labor costs are low. And then the finance is going to potentially be looking at more potentially profit margin oriented set on saying if we're going to cost this much, we need to charge that much. And those strategies can start to pull apart very quickly if you don't start at the beginning and align your digital transformation towards the same end state, end goal, and set of objectives. The next step is to know what you need. Is to know your business and where your gaps are. What that means is digging into what it is that's preventing you from achieving this strategy in the first place. To continue with the same example with our executives who are now firmly aligned, what is profitability and what do we need? Where are our gaps? What's making us less profitable than we want to be? And then you start digging into a little bit more on the finance processes and then the procurement and the production processes, and you start to pull apart this set of requirements that are based on your objectives and the areas that you want to dig, and then start to learn a little bit more about who you are, where your gaps are, and what can be filled. You may start out thinking that digital transformation is really what you want, and that's the end-all be-all to where you're headed, and you may find out that your costing is really the bigger problem. We need to figure out how to get those types of things under control, and no software is going to help you do that. Figuring out what your needs are is really the next critical step in understanding what the solution to those needs is going to be. Step 3 is to conduct your due diligence, do your research. You may have lots of options for your executive strategies. You may have lots of needs. That may lead to lots of options for addressing those needs. Maybe your strategy is to know more about your business and your data that flows in and out of your processes. Maybe your strategy is to manage those processes more effectively. You're not particularly worried about the data that flows in and out of them. Maybe your problem is with making sure that your people are more effectively trained or more effectively brought into the conversation on how it is you achieve these overall goals. But knowing what your options are and conducting your due diligence goes a long way. If you've decided based on your executive strategy conversations as well as your process and business needs, and knowing yourself that digital transformation really is going to be the solution to that, conducting your due diligence means knowing what type of digital technology can solve for those needs and what types of options there are out there. In the ERP space, there are thousands of potential software solutions that you can choose from. Where do you start? I mean, it's easy to say, well, I'm going to pick NetSuite, and because NetSuite, I heard it on the radio 100 times today, and it just seems like that speaks to me. Well, NetSuite's not the only option out there, and you may find that your business is too big or too small for NetSuite. You know, the SAP and Oracle overall, or dominate the software space by the virtue of sheer size. But there are other software companies out there that may be a better fit for you, whether it be because they are just too large and expensive for you, and you're looking more in the space of the Infors and the Epicors, who can solve most ERP needs in one package. Something like a NetSuite may still be a great fit because it has the adaptability to have far more add-ons and plugins. You may find that something like maybe an IFS is a better fit for you because you as a company are heavy manufacturing, complex manufacturing, and what that means for you is that might be the fit. Your top priority may be flexibility in software at a very high level, and maybe Microsoft Dynamics is a better fit. You can go down 100 different paths with 100 different softwares, but doing your research and conducting your due diligence is going to be an important part of that. To elaborate a little bit more, because of the magnitude of this topic, is to really think through how are your needs going to be addressed, and how are they going to align with the strategic goals that you have, and what are the solutions for that, and then starting to do things like a request for proposal that says, tell me how you can fit my needs as a software company. You then want to make sure that you're conducting discovery with your vendors that might be responding to your proposals, so that they can learn a little bit about you, and you can learn a little bit more about them. That part of the due diligence is an important part of the process, not because of the relationships that it builds, but also because it's just as important for software vendors to understand who you are and what you do, so that they can explain to you effectively how it is their system can meet your needs. And in some cases, maybe they'll be able to tell you very clearly that it won't. It's not uncommon to invite folks to respond to a proposal, and then with a little bit of discovery after that, find that our software package really isn't for you. We can't solve for those needs, and that's an important part of the due diligence process. The third most important part of the third step in that process is going to be software demonstrations. As much as a vendor can tell you our software can do that, you need to be able to see how well they can do that. Is it a very difficult process that just it exists in their software, but it's a bit haphazard, or is it something that is as smooth and slick as it sounds? And seeing that live is the only way to do it, because combining that demonstration with what it is you know about your business is really where the conversation comes together to create a firm understanding of what options can do for you. From there, you talk about your costing and all of those things as part of your due diligence, of knowing that how long you're going to be paying for this, what you're going to be paying for, and those types of things. The due diligence and research process is a key component to a successful strategy conversation. You'll notice that at this point, we've transformed nothing. All we know is that we have some ideas on what we want from this transformation. We have some ideas on what we need from this transformation, and we have some thoughts on what our options for this transformation are. Number 4 on this list is to start planning for when things don't go the way that you think they will. So plan for failure. And maybe failure is a bit of a strong word, but in my opinion, really it's not, because to plan for failure is really how you become successful. Your implementation is going to start, and you're going to have this great plan in place, and all of a sudden something's going to change. One of my favorite quotes recently is, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. And an implementation is like that. Nobody implements ERP because they're fast, easy, and inexpensive. They're very difficult, they're very expensive, and they take a long time. So by planning for failure, you start to identify the risk spaces that you need to plug, and you start to be able to manage the risks that come up. So when you do have issues that are created, when risks become problems, you have a plan for that in place that can be put into effect, and you can move forward, as opposed to having to stagger and figure out what in the world are we going to do now that this first thing came up, because the first thing won't be the last thing, and it won't be the second to last thing either. You will have challenges and things will change throughout your implementation that will lead you down different paths than you thought. It's great to have a plan to start with, to say we're going to go step by step through this, and all of that falls away if you haven't been able to plan for the risk of failure. And then the last one kind of dovetails on number 4, but knowing that your organization can handle this and being prepared to handle this as an organization is just as critical as any other step. So organizational change management is number 5 on our list to the 5 steps to transformation strategy. All the steps 1 through 4 really are going to mean nothing if your organization isn't prepared at the people level to use this brand new tool, to implement this brand new strategy, and to affect change in a way that addresses the needs that you have identified and employ the option that you have chosen on this path. Because if your people don't use your new strategy, especially if it's an ERP system, all you're really going to end up with is a very, very expensive and painful digital paperweight, and people will go back to their spreadsheets. People will go back to printing things, and all of a sudden, all of the processes that you expected to innovate and all of the benefits that you expected to gain go by the wayside because it was easier to just keep things the way that they were. So I very much appreciate the time that you've taken to walk through these 5 steps with me. We at Third Stage believe in this type of a process that allows for our clients to be successful. So if you'd like to speak a little bit more with me about this, please feel free to reach out directly. For other great topics and videos, subscribe to our YouTube channel. You'll find a link in the bottom. Thank you.